I've been bombarded recently with YouTube videos about MCP, left, right, and center. And while a lot of people are talking about it, most aren't really breaking down the concept properly. And don't get me wrong, there's a huge potential here with MCP, but if you don't fully understand how it works, you might be missing out on the bigger picture and the opportunities that come with it. So in this video, I want to try to cut through the noise and break down what MCP actually is, why it matters, and how you can start using it today in your AI workflows. So I want to go through the current state of things right now. And right now, if you want to connect an AI agent to different tools, you have to manually set up API requests, handle authentication, and perhaps configure separate actions for every single tool or service that you add onto your AI agent. And this can make automation a bit rigid and fragile because things can break when the API documentation changes and scaling can become a nightmare. So you can see here an example. We only have here one service or one tool, right? The Gmail tool, but there's several actions that you can take within the Gmail tool. So you can imagine how tedious this can get, right? It got easier over time with N8N, but you see here all the things that you have to set up, right? It's all right. It's not that bad, but imagine doing this for all of these actions. And let's say you have, more services attached like Google Maps and then Notion, and it can get really big and it can become a bit of a nightmare to maintain and handle. And that's only for the actions that are enabled by N8N, right? That N8N have provided a UI to put in the queries. If there's no UI to enter the tools in such way, then you'd have to do it via an API. And this is a bit more of a headache because you have to put in the URL, you have to put the authentication, the header of query parameters, so adding the JSON body. So can get a bit tedious, right? Imagine you have to do that with many other tools that are not available through the N8N UI. So you have to do these requests, right? So setting this up can be a bit of a nightmare. The question is then, can we remove the need to set up APIs and tools manually for your AI agents? You have something like this. And essentially what MCP does is the following: packages all of that in a list of tools that then the AI agent can read through in a standard way and then execute. So you can see how it goes from this to this. And that is what MCP is in a nutshell. But yeah, if you did not understand much about the previous slides, and perhaps you're a beginner and have not been updated with these trends, perhaps you don't even know what MCP is. Even if you're technical or non-technical, it doesn't matter because we're going to start from the basics. I'm going to teach you exactly what is MCP and how this works in the background, why it can change the way we build and interact with AI agents. In this example, I'll be building on an N8N because I think it's the best way to teach this stuff. I'm going to show you some examples, okay, some real examples, and I'm also going to teach you how to set it up yourself. So let's get started. Okay, so before moving on with the rest of the video, I quickly want to take you through this demo so that you understand how this works and for you to see it hands-on. Okay, so you see here we have Firecrawl list tools and Firecrawl execute tools. We have these tool nodes, okay, because they come under the tool category here for the agent to use. And you can imagine Firecrawl is a web scraping service. Okay, so this is a web scraper agent. And let's say that we're looking for Firecrawl. First of all, N8N doesn't have Firecrawl service supported in the UI. So even worse, you have to use HTTP request and it will look like, something like this, right? HTTP www.firecrawl.com. And then maybe we're looking for an endpoint here. So, the endpoint representing a certain action. So get page or scrape page, right? And you'll have to do this, also add a description so that the LLM understands when it needs to use this tool. It also would need to understand what parameters you can paste in as well, right? So you need to build a JSON body, some authentication or whatnot. And this is only for one of the tools. This would be only for, let's say, I don't know what I put, only for scraping a page. Let's say it has another one. I don't know exactly the actions that you can make, but let's say also you have, I'm not going to fill it in, okay? Because I'm not planning on making it work, but another one would be getting a screenshot, perhaps, right? You'd have to do this whole process with each HTTP by creating another HTTP node, right? Another one. It's a bit of a mess. So instead, all you have to do is get this tool node, go on credentials, fill this out. This is your API key. I'll show you how to do this later. And that's it. Set it to list tools. So now with this list tools, it has information about all the different actions it can take, right? The agent's going to digest that. And also has information about the parameters. So I'm going to show you right now how that works. Okay, so list me the tools that you have available. Okay, so it's gonna run this and you're gonna see what happens. So let's give it a second, let the LLM digest that, and there you go. So you see it has the scrape action, it has the map action, another crawl, batch scrape, and all that, okay? And alongside the actions, it also understands, what it's able to do with them. But it misses something else. So add the query inputs, what it needs to input as well to be able to execute these tools. So it's gonna give you information about that. Okay, let's do that again. What parameters are needed to execute the different tools? Okay, let's see if it understands me this way. So here you go. So here are the different tools. And also it added to me the parameter. So this is all contained within this tools node here. So it also understands, it has really good information, a really good understanding on what parameters it needs. So now we don't have to fill that inside. See if I can open that again. We don't have to fill the queries, right? In this JSON or, by filling in these input fields. We don't have to do that because all of the information is contained within the server. So the agent already has a direct understanding on what tools or actions it can execute, and also the parameters it needs. So it's saving us a lot of time, a lot of effort, right? So you can see here, map, URL search, ignore, right? It has all of it. It's a time saver. Okay, now we're actually gonna execute the tool, firecrawl tool. Okay, let's put something like search and retrieve the links for the top 3 blogs talking about Anthropic's, I probably spelled that wrong, MCP. Okay, let's search through that, and it's going to access the list of tools first, right? It needs to understand, what tools it can execute, and also the queries, the parameters that need to go in, what parameters it has to fill based on my query, and then execute the actual tools. So it's going to go ahead and do that. And here we have it. Of course, the first one is the one by Anthropic. So let's hit that one. Let's open that. And there we go. So this is the actual, got released on November. So you can see that MCP is not that new. It's just that the method on how we can execute these MCP tools, that is a bit more new, especially within N8N as well. Okay, so we have this one as well, right? It's actually posted on Reddit. So you see that it works, right? So let's break it down. So simple memory, right? It retrieves information from the past conversations. If there's anything relevant there, then the language model decides what to do. Then we have firecrawl, right? Retrieving the actual tools that it needs to do, that it can use, description, whatever. Then the LLM goes back to the LLM and says, okay, well, I have these options, I have these queries. Okay, based on what the user told me, what should I execute? It decides what to execute, actually executes it, right? Puts in the queries, back to the model and to me, okay? So that's how it works. And yeah, you can see how easy that is to set up. So it took me a few minutes to set this up. Obviously, I knew what I was doing, but once you know once, then you can connect other sorts of tools, other sorts of services, not only firecrawl, you can connect Airbnb, you can connect Apify, MCPs. So it's really powerful. But anyways, I'm going to keep going with the presentation so that we can go in depth to what MCP is. I think it's about time to bring that back, okay? Hey there. Just briefly want to stop the video to announce that I have recently opened my community, Neural Architects. This is a place where I intend to pretty much network together ambitious individuals that are interested in the world of AI, automation, and SaaS. Inside Neural Architects, you'll get exclusive access to guides, templates, and other resources that are released from all my videos, including access to experts in their fields. So stay tuned because I will also be including Q&As, discussions, and other exciting stuff soon. I'll leave a link down in the description to Neural Architects, so I'll see you there. So let's continue with this. So I'm going to put an analogy, okay, a comparison, because this is not the first time we are standardizing such form of communication, okay? Within AI, it's new, but well, MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, okay? Protocols have been here for a while, and protocols are a way to standardize the way we communicate across. Perhaps it could be devices, it could be, in this case, LLMs, right? It's a way to standardize communication. So this happened a long time ago as well. Some time ago, every tech company had its own way of making their devices communicate with each other, right? And for example, we had Apple use Apple Talk to communicate between Mac computers. We had IBM connect between, different IBM mainframes and terminals, and so on and so on. So these were isolated, right? Only IBM machines could communicate with their own IBM machines. Apple could only do so within their own Apple devices. There was no standard protocol that could allow Apple devices to communicate with IBM devices, okay? And that's where the Internet Protocol, or TCP, became the universal standard, okay, that allowed this, right, to communicate between all different devices, no matter what company your device was from. And so it's, as I said, it's standardized communication across all devices, allowing different systems, no matter the manufacturer, to talk to each other. And MCP is doing the same, right? This protocol, because at the end it's a standard, it's a protocol. It's doing the same for connecting LLMs to tools. So as I mentioned before, if you remember, we have to structure these APIs and these queries, all these parameters, in a certain way for every single different service. So what MCP does, it kind of translates. You can think about it as a translator. Translates all of these requirements to be able to interact with these services into one single language for the LLM to understand. Okay, so now we're going to go through the evolution of LLMs so that you have yet another angle to understand the concept of MCPs. What I'm doing essentially is just trying to give you all the different perspectives that I think you are going to understand, so that hopefully one of them sticks more than the other, right? Because everybody has their own way of understanding things. So over the years, until now, until recently, we've had the LLM simply as a prediction tool, right? Prediction machine. So it still is this, but we only have the option of having it like this until now. So we give it an input and then it predicts the next token and it generates an output for us. Okay, cool, nothing crazy going on. Now we're at this stage where we're able to not only generate a text output, or I guess multimodal as well, get a video out or an image, but we also can execute actions. So for example, with this Gmail API, we have this tool or this service, right? Well, this is the service and it can be represented by tool. Well, this tool has 4 different actions in this case that it can take, each requiring different inputs, right? The different JSON bodies, for example, that we need to input so that the agent or the LLM can successfully trigger all these actions. Cool. Now we have 3 different tools. Okay, not only the 3 different services or tools, whatever you want to name it. So now we have the Gmail API, YouTube, and Canva, with all of them have their respective actions. Perhaps you can see where I'm going with this. So as I said, it becomes tedious to do all of this. And if you don't have anything UI to, perhaps use the Gmail API or whatever, as I showed you with Firecrawl, right? Firecrawl doesn't have a native way of putting this, completing the actions as tools, right? You don't have to use an HTTP request, as I said. Same with the prompts. So you have to reflect the tools that you attach within the prompts as well. So you have to refine it by saying, hey, you have access, remember LLM, you have access to this tool. So make sure you use it appropriately. And I'm going to give you a little prompt so that you understand what it's able to do. Well, now extend this to 7 different tools or services. This is where the use of tools can become a bit of a hassle, right? Giving the LLM access to all of these different tools can make the output of all of the different tools a bit inaccurate, right? You're giving too much context to the LLM because every tool, every service has a different way of inputting the requirements or the queries to perform the actions, right? They're all different languages. So the LLM is going to have a hard time to handle all these different languages. It's a bit of a headache. That's where MCP comes in. As I just mentioned, you can think about the HTTP requests for each different service as different languages. So let's say we communicated with YouTube in Arabic, then we have French, then we have Dutch, we have Japanese, okay? So MCP in this case acts as a translator. So we're translating all these different languages from all the different services into English, so that then the language model can say, oh, okay, now all of these are standardized into one single language, and I don't have to go through the hassle of trying to understand the nuisances, try to understand the nitty-gritties of each. So it's just a way to standardize all the different requests that we make to each different service, try to standardize it, and then pass it on to the LLM so it has an easier time executing these tools with more accuracy, right? And therefore better performance. So that's what it is. And if you think about it, if you try to strip down the name, MCP, it's short for Model Context Protocol. That's what a protocol is. Protocol is a way to standardize communication, right? In this case, between elements and tools. If you think about it, the road signs that you have on the streets or the traffic light system, they are also some sort of protocol to standardize traffic, okay? So think about it like that. Those are protocols. It's no different here. So protocol to give proper context or standardized context to models. Model Context Protocol, okay? It's in the name. Right, so now we're going to understand, okay, so yeah, I think I covered this already. So you have many of these, now it just goes into these. So this is the N8N equivalent of how MCP simplifies the use of tools. Okay, now we're going to understand MCP in a little bit more detail. so that you understand how we are communicating with. So as I said before, the translator. Let's go step by step. So we have the MCP client, which is the platform, if you may, where we are leveraging or using these LLMs or AI agents, if you want. So in this case, we're using LLMs and AI agents inside n8n. Cursor and Windsurf have their own coding assistants or coding AI agents, right? That then need to communicate with different APIs. So essentially, we have the service, which is the YouTube API in this case, and we're converting the requests, the requirements, the capabilities of that service, passing it through the MCP server, which acts as a translator, and we're translating that into the Model Context Protocol, okay, which is the unified language or the English language that I mentioned to you here, okay? As I mentioned before, French, Dutch, whatever, converted into English, right? So this is the English in this case, and this could be Arabic, okay, for you to better understand it. An MCP protocol or Model Context Protocol is that unified language. And something that the Anthropic, the company that created the Model Context Protocol, is that the MCP server, the translator, they made it so that the service provider, in this case YouTube, handles all of this, handles the build of the MCP server as well. And this is a 4D, 5D chess move from Anthropic, because that means that they don't have to do any of the maintenance themselves. Anthropic doesn't have to do any of that maintenance. The MCP service, the translators are all handled by the service, so they have to make sure this is up to date. Okay, so Anthropic saved themselves a lot of hassle. And these MCP servers, I'm going to show you later. There are repositories for this where you can find and connect to these. There's not many of them recently, and that is one of the issues. But we're going to discuss about that later. I mean, this is a relatively new protocol. There's not many protocols that do this. But anyways, we're going to talk about this later. Okay, so let's go back to n8n and we're going to build something from scratch. So let's come over here and we are going to build an Airbnb travel AI agent. Okay, so perhaps we could ask it something like plan a 5-day trip to Barcelona for 2 people, focusing on budget-friendly accommodations near the city center. Include top-rated Airbnb listings with prices, local transportation options, and must visit attractions, provide a daily itinerary, restaurant recommendations, and estimated costs. So from the back of this, we're going to be like, okay, well, we don't only need the Airbnb MCP, we are also going to need to use a web search MCP. Okay, so 2 things. We need access to Airbnb, and we also need access to web search. So I have already a couple of ideas. I mean, there should be an Airbnb MCP and also a web search MCP, such as Brave Search. Okay, so basically we need to grab these MCP nodes and attach them to our AI agent in order to have the functionalities listed here for our Airbnb travel AI agent. And what you'll find out is that if you add a node and then you search for the MCP nodes, you'll find out that they're not there. That's because these MCP nodes are not built by n8n, at least as of now. Okay, hopefully in the future they get to build it internally as part of their software, but you're not going to find them. And that's because these are made by a third-party service. They're only available via the community nodes. Okay, so these nodes are accessible from a GitHub repository made by this third party. Okay, so in order to install this GitHub repo that contains these custom MCP nodes, you're going to have your own self-hosted instance of n8n, okay? Your own version of n8n hosted somewhere. You can do this through Render. In my case, it's ls.io or Hostinger, for example, okay? They offer solutions for that. But anyways, I'll leave a link in the description to a video that's going to show you how to have your own self-hosted instance of n8n, okay? To have your own version. This is going to allow you to do what I'm going to do now, okay? But anyways, in order to download these MCP nodes, if you already have your self-hosted instance, is to go to settings. Okay, let's save this and go to community nodes here. And now what you're going to do, well, actually, if you go to the GitHub repo, because actually the only thing you need is to just copy this, okay? So it says n8n nodes MCP and just install it like that. So go to install and go n8n nodes MCP, okay? So you're going to do that. I understand the risk of installing unverified, whatever, and then hit install. Okay, it doesn't work for me because I installed it already, but it should work for you. It should take a couple of seconds, okay? Just wait till it's done, and that's it. Then you should have it. Make sure to restart your n8n server, and that's pretty much it. You should have it already available. Okay, cool. So step 1 done. we installed the MCP community node. Now we're gonna go back and we're gonna continue with the rest of the instructions. So the second step, we complete this one. Second step will be to install the specific MCP servers onto the server shell or the server terminal of our web service provider. Okay, so we're hosting our N8N app on some service provider. Okay, in this case, I'm using ls.io because there's some benefits to it. And yeah, so I'm going to show you how to do it on Render anyways. So I'll leave a link in the description to show you how to set your own self-hosted instance if you're interested and you don't know how to do it. But for a demonstration, I'll just keep going. Okay. But yeah. So the thing is that for every service that you have or that you want to connect your agent to with MCP, you're going to have to download a separate MCP server onto your terminal. So if you have a Notion MCP, you're going to have to download the MCP server for that. You're going to have to download a separate one for Google Maps, Google Sheets, for YouTube, right? And stuff like that. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, we're going to go to the GitHub repo. Okay. I'm going to leave a link to this in the description, and we are going to first install the Brave Search API because it's a bit more straightforward. In order to do that, we're going to go to, if we keep going down, you're going to see this. So using Brave Search MCP server, there's an example here. So it's npm install -g and then this. Okay. So we're going to copy that and we are going to go to our web service provider. In this case, I'm using ls.io. And we're going to open the terminal. So let's go ahead and do that. And here we are on our terminal. Okay. So on render, let's go to render. You're going to see this as you log in. You're going to see your project name, right? In this case, it will be your web app for N8N. And once you're in here, you're going to go to the left side of this left tab and hit shell. So once you hit that, you should be able to enter. I can't do it because I have a free instance, but if you have a starter instance, you should be able to access it. But it's going to look the same, pretty much. And once you're here, you're just going to paste that, npm install -g at all that stuff. So we're going to npm install that, and we're going to hit enter. Okay, cool. In your case, it should take a bit more time, possibly, because you're installing it from scratch. I already installed this, so that's why it's quicker for me, because there's nothing to install, apart from little updates. So you'll be doing this for every service that you want to install, right? For every MCP server. Now that we have this, essentially we should be doing this for every service, as I said. But yeah, I'll install the Airbnb one in a bit. We're gonna get started with building this stuff. Let's get a chat trigger. Oh, actually I have one here. So we'll disconnect that. Let's move it across here. And I'm just gonna duplicate that, bring it with me. Okay, second, should attach a chat model to it. So let's just add ChatGPT. There we go, GPT-4o. So you could add an open router model and choose the model that you want. If you think about it, actually, open router is pretty much a similar thing to MCP, right? Open router is unifying these access to large language models, and MCP is unifying the access to APIs. If you want to think about it that way, hopefully it can give you another perspective. So memory, we're just going to add simple memory. I see they changed their name. Pretty interesting. And now, because you have downloaded the community node, now you should be able to see it as, you're not going to be able to see it as a client tool. Essentially, you will only be able to see it as client, okay, MCP client, not client tool. So we can test that just by itself. So perhaps what we can do is get a trigger. Let's grab a trigger manually, and let's start with you understanding, executed tool, list available tools. Okay, and you see that I have my already this configured, but essentially what you'll do is fill it out like this. So where do you get this from? We're gonna go back, keep going down. You're gonna see this, okay? Brave Search credentials. This is under, I think, the main branch of the repo. So if you go down, okay, here. So example multi-server setup with the agent. So it's gonna be below that. And you're gonna see here, Brave Search credentials. So the command is npx. So that's what I added here. And then you're gonna put -y and then at model context protocol / server Brave Search, as you see right here. Okay, so make sure to put that. And now the special part is you're gonna grab your Brave Search API key. So go to their website, create an account and add an API key. Make sure to grab the API token. And now over here on the environment, you will add here is the following: Brave API key equals, and then you're gonna put your API key right here. Okay, So I'm gonna grab that, copy that. I'm gonna put it as fixed so that you don't see it, and then paste that there. Now you should be able to hit save, and that should be it. That's the only thing I have to do. Make sure to select operations as list tools, and there you have it. So that's the list tools. So now what you should be able to do now is, let's select another node. Actually, if you run this already, let's run this. If you run this node here, you will see that we're going to print out something interesting. We're going to be able to print out all the tools that are available. So Brave Web Search, Brave Local Search, and all the input schemas that otherwise, normally you would have to make a JSON for this, but this is all done automatically. It's all done by the people at Brave, I suppose. And now let's put in the second node. So MCP client, which is the one that you should be able to see. And we're gonna execute a tool. So execute a tool and then the tool name. So you have the ability to choose between two different tools. So perhaps what we can do is choose Brave Web Search. In this case, we're gonna just perform general search. Then we're going to open this. Let's add a query, and let's say we're going to look for latest news on AI agents. Okay, so now we're going to test the step and obviously choose the right MCP credential. Let's test the step, and we should be able to get a result back from the actual search for this query. So what are we getting? Let's put it a bit neater. China's managed AI agent could be out first claims, blah 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 blah. You get the idea. So it works. So we're choosing a tool and then we are adding a query. That's all we have to do. We just need to add the actual query. It's really easy. So now that you managed you figured out how to do it like this, now we need to be able to add it as a tool for the AI agent. There's something that you need to do on your web service provider again. Okay, let me go ahead and delete this because we're not going to need that anymore. Let's connect it here again. So what you're going to have to do is, if we look at the steps again, we're going to have to enable the community nodes, so the MCP community nodes, to be used as tools. We need to add this to our environment variables list back in our service provider. So in my case is ls.io, and in my case we should have somewhere over here, we go to overview, we go on update config. So you can either choose it to add it on Docker Compose. So you see here, so you can copy this here and go back to ls.io and paste it. It should look something like this in ls.io. You should just paste it right below the payload size max. Okay. Some people put a space here, and what I found out is that this is gonna cause issues in your N8N app. So this is gonna cause for you not to be able to run the MCP as a tool. So make sure to not have that space. Do not leave a space between the last environment variable. Well, it's not an environment variable, but the setting that you put here and the links property. Okay, don't leave a space. Once you've done that, make sure to hit update and restart. So now we're going to restart your server. So don't be afraid if you lose connection to your N8N workflow. Make sure to obviously save everything before you do this. Now there is accessible again. So now we can go back and restart that, restart our workflow, and now we should be back. Hopefully you hit save before doing anything. So now we're back here. And once you've done that, now if you select MCP, you should be able to have the client tool available. All right. So now you're going to click it, select the Brave Search variable, right? You should have this already set up from before. So make sure to do that. Tools description, select automatically list tools. So we're going to have the list tools node, and then we're going to put the other one. So another client tool node. And in this case, we are going to execute a tool, right? And we're going to do a little trick here. So for this node, for example, we can allow the AI to define the tool parameter just to make our lives a bit easier. But in this case, you can't. So what you're going to do is just have another one here. You just need to grab this expression and we're going to do a little trick and paste it back here. So this is just the same thing as clicking this icon, but for some reason, some inputs don't have it. So we're just allowing the AI to define this tool name input, and we're just adding a description so that the LLM knows what to add here. Okay, cool. So now we have the list tools and the execute tool. So we're gonna rename this so that we don't get confused. MCP Brave Search, perhaps let's do Brave Search list tools, and now we're gonna put this one as Brave Search execute tools. Cool. Now make sure to hit save, don't forget. And now what's gonna happen if I open the chat and test it out? Let's ask, list the tools that you have, and you should be able to only use this node. And there you go. So it's able to bring us the tools that it has access to and the parameters. So now let's give it the ability to do simple search. So let's say, bring me back the weather in London tonight. Okay. So now it's executing the tool. So with the context, it didn't have to trigger that already because, oh, it actually is doing it. Okay, fair enough. I think I added a little prompt here so that it tells it to, you know, list the tools. And I want to understand why that failed. Let's see if it actually worked or not. So let's see what happened. There's tools, cool, execute tools. Okay, so it actually triggered it. So I don't really understand what happened. It could be a bug or something with this node, because you can see here, if you click on execute tools, you can see that it actually passed something. It actually passed the query parameters that the agent picked from this node here. So it actually triggered this successfully. So let's have a look. Here's some weather forecast. No, so tell me the actual, so how many degrees it is in London tonight. It's giving me just general places where you can grab this from, which is okay. I guess that's what the Brave Search service is meant for. Well, maybe not the best for actually grabbing the weather, but let's try again. Okay, so the search didn't all, okay, so we might have to have a specific one for weather, perhaps. I think it only is able to search, the service is only meant to search on a top level, or maybe not. Wait, okay, so it's able to give me the URL, but it's not able to extract the data, which makes sense given what Brave does, right? It actually just searches for stuff, the URL level, and perhaps doesn't scrape. Maybe we need to add a web scraper, but yeah, it works. It works. So it gives us the URLs back. Okay, so success. And we know that also because it's able to execute the tools as well. So now let's add Airbnb capabilities as well. So we can go back to nerding.io. We're going to go up here. So the instructions I grabbed for adding the credentials and installing the MCP server on our web service is using the nerding.io GitHub repo. And then this other one is another GitHub repo from Model Context Protocol. So I'll leave all these two different links in the description, okay, for you to access. So we're gonna go down and we're going to go to the Airbnb one, okay? So we're gonna hit Airbnb and we're going to go down, and this one is slightly different. This is part of what we need. The rest is just the same thing as always. So we always have to do npm install -g. So it goes like this: npm install -g, and then you see that we always have this @ followed by model context protocol /server brave search. Okay, I'm not going to go into much detail to why, but essentially we can grab this. Okay, whenever you see a mention of @ and then whatever repo or whatever service, and then /open MCP server Airbnb, and paste it right there, right? So that's kind of the quick, easy way to be able to install this. If you don't find the exact instructions or the exact terminal command in any GitHub repo or whatever, okay? I think if you go to Smithery, let's search for Airbnb. Perhaps we can find it here. Please search and listing to this one. Yeah, so it's the same one. So you see here, I think this OpenAB.org. Okay, so it's slightly different. Let's go to the API. Okay, so it really depends from where you're downloaded it from. Okay, so it really depends, but I think it should be the same thing. So let's go back to Bash, enter, and you're going to download it. Just a little note on these community nodes. Okay, just want to point out something. In this case, I'm downloading this MCP server because it doesn't require any API keys. So these MCP servers, okay, so these MCP servers, you're going to be slightly careful with them because some of them are untested and they're not affiliated or endorsed by Anthropic. So they could be some random dude. And what could happen is that, especially with the Google stuff, it's not done by Google, okay? It could be some random person. And if some of these require, as you saw before with the Brave Search one, where you have to, when you put these credentials, okay, when you have to put your API key, if it's the Google one, you will have to put your Google Cloud Project API key. And, you know, I personally wouldn't add that API key onto an MCP server that's handled by, or that's made by someone random, because essentially what could happen is that they could grab that API key and access your Google Cloud project and perhaps have other access to other stuff, right? Perhaps they could have access to your Google Cloud account. I don't know exactly how it works, but there's a possibility that some information could be leaked and they could hack your Google Cloud project, okay? And I'm not sure what you're using your projects for, but you know, there's a risk there. So for now, I'm just using the Airbnb one, okay, even though it's a community server, because it doesn't require you to put in any API key. So I installed it already. And essentially what you need to do is go back here. Let's add another MCP tool. Since this one doesn't require an Airbnb API key, what you can do is put command npx and then put -y and then add openbnb/MCP server Airbnb, okay? And that should be all. Once you go back, let's test it out. First of all, I'm gonna do Airbnb, so I know list tools. Oh, wrong one. List tools, and then another one, MCP again, and then let's put the right one. So Playwright is, I was testing this. Playwright is a browserless web automation tool, so it's able to click buttons and all that. I've been testing it, and it's pretty interesting, but I'm not gonna get into that today. I just want to show you a really quick example, really easy and nice example that you guys can try out. And here we have our Airbnb sticky tools. Okay, so now we're going to test it out and say, what tools do you have for Airbnb? And let's see if it's able to retrieve anything. Cool, so it works. So you see that some MCP servers don't require you to have an API key. And that's great because if they are community servers, then I don't want to expose any critical API keys. If it's Airbnb, well, I mean, it depends. If you know, someone could grab your Airbnb API key and then use that to log in into your account, perhaps, and could buy a property. Or no, could rent a property with your account, let's say. So that's why I'm not using community server for Google Maps, because that would mean I would have to expose my Google Cloud Project API key, and I'm using them for projects. So it's not a wise move. So with Brave Search, yes. I mean, Brave Search, I think it's a, so if you go here, okay, so they are on the reference servers. So I think that's a bit safer, and you're safe if you work under the official integrations as well, because they are maintained by official companies, okay? Once you go down this community servers part, that's when you're gonna be a bit careful, okay? So that's the deal with that. So now we got the tools for the list tools node, and you can see that we have this following description and parameters. We can do all these things, and we can execute the tools now. So let's do a simple search now, just to put search the top 3 cheapest listings, let's say for a stay from the 20th of March 2025 to, because I don't know if it has a notion of time, I could put in the prompt right now, but I'm a bit too lazy to do it now. 24th of March 2025. Okay, so let's do that and see what it returns back. So you should list the tools first. It should understand what tools can I trigger, what parameters do I need, and then execute the tools that it needs to use. And I'm wondering if, yeah, check-in date, checkout date. So let's see if it actually filled those. I'm curious. Let's have a look. So it seems like in London didn't yield any results. Just search me the top 3 accommodations in London. Okay, let's put it something simpler. Perhaps we need to do more work on the prompting, on the agent or something. I just want to prove that it works. If it does the list tools one, then it should be able to do the other one, because they both have the same credentials. Perhaps it got a bit mixed up, and maybe for all is not the most ideal to execute these tools. Okay, so it might be that it doesn't have enough information to know how to fill these properly. Just returning blank stuff, and I think it's going in a loop. So this should give you a good understanding on the fact that we are slightly early to this, and that, although this is cool to see, agent stopped due to max iterations. It's not the most perfect thing. So maybe unlike other YouTube videos where they show you a perfect example how to use these MCPs, you need to realize that these things are not perfect yet, okay? We're very early to this. So let's do search me for listings in Miami. Hopefully the 4.0 model has a better understanding on locations in the US. So let's see if that's the case. Okay. Interesting. Oh, I apologize. Okay, my mistake. I forgot to turn this into execute tool. All right, and yeah, that was the mistake. So let's grab this expression from here. I completely forgot about this. There we go. And then let's allow this to be defined by the model. And now it should work. So let's go back and let's grab this. Okay, save that. Try that again in London. Okay, so essentially this node was on list tools instead of execute tool. Okay, apologies to those from the US for me saying that. I thought 4.0 was slightly biased towards US locations for searching in Airbnb. Okay, take that back. Okay, so we see it actually returns stuff. So this just proves that we don't need, for all of the MCPs, we don't need environment variables with our API keys. Right, so we see here that we have a cozy single room, blah, 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 stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're gonna do a bit of a more complex one. So we're gonna add a Notion MCP so that it perhaps can create an itinerary for us. So I have my Notion somewhere around here. I'm gonna search for it. So I copied my token for the Notion. You'll be able to find this under your profile, Notion.is profile /integrations, okay? And you can create a new integration and then you should get an API key there. So once you have that, then what we can do is let's go and install. It's fine. So I'm gonna risk it for you guys in this one by getting a community node by a, sorry, what was this called? By a community server. I'm gonna grab a community server. I'm gonna put my Notion API key for you guys. Okay, so there's a couple of different ones, which makes it even a bit more sketchy. Click the Notion one first here, and now you see here that it has these arguments. Okay, so we're gonna grab this. We're gonna go to our here website provider terminal, and we're gonna put npm install g-g, and then this right here. Okay, we're gonna install that. So we're gonna install our MCP Notion server, and there we have, okay, it's downloaded. Now we're going to go back to our anytime workflow and add the credentials. Okay, first obviously by first adding our nodes, client tool, let's add a new one, and here we have our commands. So let me refresh my mind. The command was npx, and then was it /y, I mean /y, -y, and then this, I believe. So let's go back and see how we did it with other ones. Okay, so then for the new one, that means that we have the MB one, so we need to add the Notion one. So npx and then y and then MCP Notion server right there. Go and grab that. And then environments is going to be Notion API token. Grab that here. Notion API token equals, and I'm not going to show you guys my key, so I'm going to put it as fixed and then enter it like that. Hit save. Credential successfully created. And I'm curious what tools it has available. Okay, let's give it a different name. Notion MCP server. Cool. In this case, it's going to be this tools, and then we're going to have another one. So let's rename that as Notion tools, and then we're going to have another one, the Notion credentials, and we're going to put execute tool. And the tool name is going to be execute tool. I'm going to use this little trick here. Let's call it Notion execute tools, and we are going to grab that like that, and then let AI figure the rest out. Okay, so now we have a decent set of MCP tools that we're all going to use together in one prompt and see what it's able to do. I'm very curious about the Notion stuff, I'm really curious to see how it works. So let's first have a look at what it's able to do. What are you able to do with the Notion tools? List them out alongside its query input params. Here, let's see what it gives out. Because basically what I want to do is I want to use the search tool, the Airbnb list tools, and then the Notion tools to be able to, first create an itinerary and then create a page on Notion for that, so that I can have it instantly in Notion. And yeah, Notion is infamous for its really shit APIs. So I wonder if it's able to figure this one out. Okay, so append block children, retrieve block children, retrieve page, update page properties, list all users, port user, create database, query database, update database, create comment, retrieve comment, Notion search. That's it. So it seems like it's able to search for stuff. Well, this is not the stuff that I want. I don't want it to just query a random database. Let's see if it's able to, okay, so page properties. Maybe you can do something with that. So if I have a new page, let's call it itinerary London from the 20th to the 25th, 2025. Okay, so essentially we create a page. So perhaps I'm just gonna put, I don't know, go to Oxford Street, eat until I'm obese. Okay, something like that, just to prove that it works at least. I'm gonna try to still have it create a page. Okay, so I'm gonna try this now since we're ready. We've built pretty much all the functionalities, including Notion, which I'm gonna test now. I haven't done that one, but I'm gonna paste that there. Let's this a bit bigger now. Plan value trade, whatever. Okay, create a Notion page for this and add your findings onto this page. Let's see if you can do that. Okay, that's a big task. Oh, it went straight onto executing the tools. Okay. All of them parallel. Fair enough. This one has big ambitions. As I said again, I have no hopes. That's a long thought process, this one. All right. It appears that the wish is retrieving listings information from Airbnb and research to API limitations and restrictions. Unfortunately, you cannot access the data directly. Okay, well, that doesn't help a lot. If you would like, I can create a Notion. Okay, that's all I'm interested in, to be honest. Like, so we saw before anyways that, as I said, like I haven't prompted or used any specific LLMs or prompts specific for this job. I added a really quick prompt, nothing crazy. So obviously I didn't expect it to do anything crazy. But from what we've done before, we know that the Brave Search MCP works, tick. We know that the Airbnb one works. So if we click here, it takes us to the listing straight away, as you can see. So that works, tick. So these two work, and this is what I want to figure out, pretty much. So I want to see if that works. So it says here, I can create the Notion page with placeholders. Yes, please. Create me the Notion page with this information. So it just seems that it's finding it really hard to use all the different tools and then bring back the information, correctly. So perhaps it's having a trouble trying to orchestrate and in the order in which he has to query these tools, which I don't blame, because as I said, I got a simple prompt there, and the model is a 4.0 model. But we know these two work, and now I want to see if the Notion one works. So yes, please create me a Notion with this information. Cool. So let's see if that works. I'm really curious. Okay. So let's see what it did. I'm curious. So try to create a database item, then it added rich text content, try to add that. Try to create that. So it says that, what is this about? Zoom out. Okay, cool. Not find database relevant pages shared with your integration. I mean, it's creating a database, so I don't know why. Perhaps there's not the right permissions there. Shouldn't say object found. Oh, interesting. Okay, let's do this one perhaps. Let's see. Okay, so it's just errors from the LLM not being accurate enough with its queries, I suppose, and just inventing stuff, like making stuff up. So perhaps what we could do is look for this page. Let's see if you can do that. Okay, try looking for this page and place the information there. Hopefully it works. If not, that's fine. As I said, it's not a problem from it being enabled to trigger the tool. It works, like the credentials are correct. It's just a matter of the LLM not being able to figure out how to query with the right parameters. So if it doesn't work, we'll wrap it up, and I'll leave it to you to figure out how to create a travel itinerary with Notion, okay? I'll leave that to you if this doesn't work. I'm pretty sure you are smarter than me in figuring this out. Okay, so I think it's having trouble trying to find the right tool to be able to trigger, to be able to fulfill the query that I asked it for, because it might not exist within tools list. So it seems like I'm gonna wrap it up there. Agent stopped, okay. That's fine. At least you know it works, right? It gave me an itinerary before, and I'm pretty sure if you figure out, if you spend enough time, you'll figure it out. But that's pretty much it. All I wanted to do is just a quick demonstration to show you the capabilities of MCP and what this could become. So we went through the whole process. Hopefully it was straightforward to follow. And also, hopefully you leave with good knowledge and a good perspective of what MCP can become in the future, the MCP's potential, especially within N8N. There's still some time for the model context protocol to perhaps be challenged by some other type of protocol, okay? I wouldn't say for certain that this is the protocol that every company is going to use and all that. And that's one of the opportunities, right? In a technical aspect. So, this could be developers there that make a better protocol and challenge Anthropic, who knows? But the other opportunity that I see right now with this model context protocol is, as you saw with Smithery, what they're trying to do here, I think it's pretty smart, is creating app stores for these MCPs so that perhaps developers and also people that are using N8N as non-developers or low-code developers or whatever you want to call it are able to access and use these MCPs within their AI agents much easier, right? Kind of democratizing that expertise and that effort to be able to connect to these tools. I see that's the first opportunity that I see come up in my head, right? You can think about it as an app store for MCPs. So, I give that idea away. Make sure and create an app store if you want for your own MCPs. I just don't have the time to do that. I have other stuff to do, but there you go. That's an idea. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. This is not ready for production, as you see. And perhaps many YouTube videos don't explain that. They just show you a really nice, MCP show up. But just to let you know that this is not in production yet. Okay, so there's still some time for this to be in production. So this is just really interesting insight into what the future could look like. And the future could be in 5 months, in a year, next month. I don't know. The important thing is that you try this yourself, okay? Even though it doesn't work for production, I think it's still important to try the latest technologies so that you get a taste and get a personal understanding on, you know, where this is headed, okay? Because the only way you're gonna know is not by listening to me only, but also trying it yourself and testing it yourself and make your own assumptions, right? With the information that you gather as well, okay? And then bet on those assumptions based on the level of conviction that you have from testing these tools, doing your own research, right? Because you should never listen 100% to a YouTuber, okay? Or a person online. Always make your own assumptions because no one knows where we're headed with this. As I said, MCP could become obsolete, MCP could become the next thing. So what I can say is try for yourself and then let me know in the comments below what you think, okay? I also have a school community, okay? Feel free to join that if you want to build stuff with people like me and you that are passionate about what's to come for the future with AI. Over there, we talk everything about AI agents, agentic software, and everything in between, and also automations. So feel free to join the school community if you're down for having some interesting discussions. And I'll be also leaving that presentation that you saw in this video. I'll be leaving that as well in the community, as well as the other resources that I will share from this video. Okay, so yeah, make sure to join if you're interested. And yeah, I'm gonna finish the video there. So if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and a follow. It really helps support the channel, and it also gives me a good idea on what videos to make next. And if you didn't like the video, please let me know why in the comments below. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna leave you guys to it. And yeah, play it around. Let me know what you think. All right. See you soon, guys.